Most people spend their 20s worrying about money and their 40s finally understanding it. That may sound strange because nearly every retirement conversation puts the spotlight on youth. We constantly hear that the secret is starting early, investing as soon as possible, and giving compound growth enough time to work. The message is repeated so often that many people quietly come to the same conclusion. If they did not do everything right in their 20s, then they must be permanently behind. But real life rarely follows that script. Your 20s are often filled with transitions. You're figuring out your career, moving between jobs, paying off debt, dealing with rising living costs, and trying to build some sense of stability. Even if you understand the importance of investing, understanding something and having the ability to act on it are completely different things. A person earning an entry-level salary may want to save aggressively, but wanting and being able to are not always the same. Rent still needs to be paid. Bills still arrive every month. Unexpected expenses still appear. The reality for many people is that their 20s are less about maximizing investments and more about simply staying afloat while building a foundation for the future. This is why the importance of your 40s is often underestimated. By the time many people reach this stage of life, something important has changed. They are no longer just building a career. They have experience. They have skills that are worth more in the marketplace. They often have greater confidence in their decisions and a clearer understanding of what they want their future to look like. Most importantly, they often have more financial capacity than they had 20 years earlier. Retirement accounts grow in two ways. They grow because investments increase in value, and they grow because money continues to be added. The first part gets most of the attention. The second part is often overlooked. When people talk about retirement, they usually focus on the power of compounding. A dollar invested at 25 has more time to grow than a dollar invested at 45. That's true, time matters. But contribution power matters too. Someone investing a few $1,000s per year in their 20s is doing something valuable. Yet someone investing significantly larger amounts during their 40s is influencing the outcome in a different way. They are feeding much more fuel into the system. Think about how different your financial life may look at 45 compared to 25. At 25, saving $3,000 in a year might feel difficult. At 45, saving $15,000 in a year may feel achievable. The difference isn't intelligence. It isn't discipline. It isn't motivation. The difference is often capacity. As income rises, every financial decision begins carrying more weight. A small percentage of a larger income can translate into substantial contributions. This is one reason why retirement balances often begin growing much faster during midlife than many people expect. There is also a psychological shift that tends to happen around this age. In your 20s, retirement feels abstract. It exists somewhere in the distance alongside countless other future concerns. It is easy to postpone because it doesn't feel real. In your 40s, the future starts becoming more visible. You begin thinking differently about time. The years ahead no longer feel endless. Financial decisions start connecting directly to a version of yourself that you can actually imagine. Retirement stops being a concept and starts becoming a destination. That shift changes behavior. People become more intentional. They pay closer attention to where their money goes. They become more selective about lifestyle upgrades that once seemed automatic. They start asking different questions, not about how to look wealthy today, but about how to create flexibility later. This is where many retirement outcomes are quietly shaped, not through dramatic investment moves, not through perfect market timing, not through finding some hidden financial shortcut, but through consistently directing more resources toward long-term ownership during the years when earning power is strongest. This doesn't mean your 20s don't matter. Starting early is still valuable. Time is one of the few advantages that can never be replaced once it's gone. But there is a difference between saying your 20s matter and saying they matter most. For many people, the 40s become the decade where everything begins to connect. The lessons from earlier years are finally paired with greater earning power. Financial mistakes become easier to avoid. Long-term goals become clearer. The gap between intention and action starts getting smaller. The biggest mistake is believing that retirement success is determined before you turn 30. Life doesn't work that way. Financial progress is rarely decided by a single decade. It is usually the result of many years of participation, adjustment, learning, and steady contributions. And that is why your 40s matter so much. Not because they replace the value of starting early, but because they are often the first decade where experience, income, and clarity come together at the same time. When that happens, the decisions you make can carry far more influence than most people realize. The story of retirement is not written in your 20s. For many people, the most important chapters are written much later, and the 40s are often where those chapters begin.